In this video, I'm going to share tips and tricks on how make your life less hectic and better organized. 3 steps on attacking a mountain of work is organize, prioritize, and delegate. So out of the whole list, now you only have about a quarter. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Dr. Anna is here. So if you are familiar with the feeling of being overwhelmed and not knowing where to start tackling your endless to-do list, welcome to my world. I'm not saying it's a daily occurrence for me anymore because I've learned a few things on how to manage the workload, an insane workload sometimes. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some of these tips and tricks on how make your life less hectic and better organized. So my 3 steps on attacking a mountain of work is organize, prioritize, and delegate. And I will break down each of those steps. Step 1 is organize. Any tool will do, absolutely any tool. You can use fancy apps or you can just use pencil and paper. It doesn't matter. The most important at this step is to get all your plans and what you need to do out of your head onto some device or paper that takes the stress out of having to remember. And you also start seeing your do list visually. That's the most important because sometimes and quite often it looks actually much less overwhelming than it is in our head. But regardless, the first step is to take it out of our head and write it down. 2 is to prioritize. And I'm going to share this diagram that I have been using for a while. You can see it on the screen right now. So this is urgent versus important. And I know often it feels like everything is urgent and it is important and it has to be all done right now. But ask yourself the question, really? We're going to go through each of these quadrants, but being able to say no or to downgrade some of the tasks or postpone some of the tasks can really save you your sanity. So first, we are going to look in the quadrant of urgent and important things. So every task next to it, when you have written it down, mark it yes, no if it is urgent and yes, no if it is important. So urgent, that means it's absolutely critical. It has to be on a certain timeline. Like, for example, paying the mortgage. It is urgent. If your mortgage payment is tomorrow or even today, it is urgent and there are no discussions about it. On the other hand, vacuuming the house. Is it urgent? From my experience, the dust is not going anywhere. So if it happens today or if it happens 3 days from now, most of the time, it's not that urgent. Important. Is a task important? Would something bad happen if it wasn't fulfilled? Well, if we don't pay the mortgage, we will probably have hefty penalty and other consequences. So it is important. It needs to be done. Another example would be we have to submit our report to the management by the end of the month. Today is the 12th. So I know I still have another 18 days or so to submit my report. It is important, but it is not urgent. So I can plan and I can find the next slot in my schedule where I will be able to do it without creating the panic at this very moment. So now that we have these 4 quadrants and each of your tasks will end up in one of these 4 quadrants, what are we doing with that? If a task is both urgent and important, it goes in your calendar. If I have to pay the mortgage today, maybe not even the calendar, I will go and do it right now. I will go in my online banking and I will make the payment, or even better, I will just automate the payment. If it has to be done in the next 24 hours or so, I will look in my calendar and I will slot the time to guarantee that this task will be done, most often than not by me, or somebody I can trust that this task will be done, and it will be done on time. Next quadrant, the less important tasks, but they're still urgent. For example, we need to make some follow-up calls with potential important customers. I do not have the capacity of doing all the calls myself, but I have my executive assistant who can run those calls and coordinate meetings or information that they need to receive or any other tasks that need to be done in relationship to the prospective customers. So I will make sure I delegate those tasks, and I will also do it right away that my assistant is aware that these tasks are coming her way on her urgent schedule and are going in her calendar. I try to delegate, and this is our third step, what is important, because while I'm performing my urgent and important tasks, the tasks that are less of a priority but need to be done, I will delegate right away. Next come less urgent tasks. So we don't have the time pressure, but if they are important, they will have to be done. And I will find time again in my calendar before these tasks become urgent to make sure they will happen. So these tasks will go in my calendar, say across the next week or the next month even. I have an event that I have to participate in, and I need to do the preparation for this event. The event is in 2 months. So I have time, but I don't want it to become urgent and important and panicky. So I will schedule some time in the next 2 weeks, for example, in my calendar. I will block the slot that will be the preparation for the event. And the last one, and this is the hardest for me to let go usually, because what is not urgent and not important, we're not going to be doing. These tasks are really hard sometimes to wrap your head around. You still think you need to be doing, but there are some things that you can simply say no. Maybe there is some event or some get together maybe you don't need, and at this very moment your sanity will so much more benefit from productive time or relaxing time. There are lots of examples of not urgent and not important tasks, and the first thing you want to do with them is either delete or postpone them to some time very far in the future. I have a few projects that are interesting, but they are neither important nor urgent, and I usually schedule them in my do list about a year from now. I know that I can always find them there. Those are mostly at the stage of ideas, and maybe one day I will decide that I will implement them. But if I don't have the capacity for them right now, I'm not going to be stressing myself out over them. So now we have divided our initial huge list of things, an overwhelming list of things, into 4 quadrants. Let's say, for argument's sake, that there is a quarter of the whole do list that went in each quadrant, and we have canceled a quarter of them, we have delegated a quarter of them, we have scheduled for later a quarter of them. So out of the whole overwhelming list that was bugging you and you felt like you needed to act on all of those tasks and right away because it was right now you only have about a quarter. Isn't that great? So I'm going to right now tackle my most urgent and important. They are in my calendar for this afternoon. And then I will proceed in a more organized way further down the road as the tasks are planned. It is a repeated process. You will have more tasks that come to your plate. You probably need to do this analysis of your do list, maybe weekly. I often do it, if not daily, at least every other day, because lots of things happening, and being able to divide into 4 quadrants and know what to delegate, what to say no to, and schedule the rest in an organized manner helps me to get things done and not be stressed about it, at least as much as possible. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope it helps you to stop the crazy spinning of the wheel. focus on getting things done and being more productive towards your goals. By prioritizing and delegating, you have shrunk your huge do list to only about a quarter of it that needs to be tackled immediately, and you can now truly focus on what is really important. Repeat this process regularly, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you need to do, and happy conquering!